Good morning, everyone. My name is Egon Chike from Lagos State, Nigeria. I'm a training delegate at Marama Global. In this short video, I'll share my idea with you on the roles of employees in workplace fire prevention. But firstly, I want us to look at three concepts. The first concept is the complex of the workplace. What is a workplace? A workplace can be said to be a place where people come together to work for the purpose of achieving a collective result. Let's look at the second concept, which is the concept of employees. Who are employees? Employees are simply those who are employed by an organization or an employer to do some assigned duties and are paid wages for these duties. Now let's look at the third concept, which is the concept of the fire prevention. This relates to the proactive steps to prevent fire from starting, as well as reduce the harmful impact of fires. Now let's go back to the idea on the roles, meaning the part played by employees in workplace fire prevention. We'll be looking at some of these roles, which are as follows. 1. Workers need to play the role of awareness and obedience. Awareness and obedience to all safety requirements. This includes obeying all safety signages, such as the no smoking signage, the hazardous area signage, as well as adhering to the management safety fire measures, which relates to the day-to-day management of fire safety in the work premises. Example, there are work premises that allow or that have free smoking zones. Workers are, if they must smoke, they must use the free smoking zones. Now, let's look at the other ideology of making sure that staffs don't overload their electrical sockets in their offices. It's important that staffs obey this rule and make sure that under no circumstances are their electrical sockets overloaded. It's also important that staffs imbibe the attitude of shutting down all safety appliances or sources at the close of work to prevent any form of fire outbreak. 2. Let's look at the concept of or the role they need to play in regular inspections. Staffs need to play roles in regular inspections to ensure that standards, rules, and regulations are adhered to, and to make sure that these rules and regulations and standards are adequate in the prevention of any form of fire hazards or any form of fire outbreak. It's also important that staffs take part in fire risk assessment. It's important that during fire risk assessment that all staff should be involved so that all risks and hazards associated with their processes are identified, as well as adequate control measures put in place to prevent any form of fire outbreak. It's also important that staff play the role to ensure that there are processes in place for safe handling, storage, and disposal of flammable substances. What this means is that there are processes in place and process owners understand these processes and make sure that they comply with them. It's also important that workers understand they play the role of cooperating, of being each other's keeper, of knowing that safety is a teamwork where everybody is expected to do their own part and play their own role. And everybody is expected to look out for each other in ensuring that all measures put in place for the prevention of fire is adequate and is adhered to. It's also important that workers should ensure or play the role to ensure that appointed fire persons are competent and abreast with trends in their industry. This means for organizations that have appointed persons who are in charge of their fire safety programs, these persons must be abreast and must be competent enough in handling this responsibility. It's also important that employees play the role to report and ensure closeout of any new risk that may arise as a result in change in their processes, introduction of new technology, or change in staffs or personnel. It's also important that staffs play the role to ensure that their actions and inactions, meaning what they do or what they fail to do, doesn't pose a risk for a fire outbreak. It's also important that staffs play the role to familiarize themselves with all emergency response plan, with all fire management plan, as well as provide or make themselves available for fire trainings to keep themselves abreast with the trends in the industry, as well as understand the full concept of fire from the beginning down to the extinguishing stage. Having said this, I believe if staffs comply with this, they will actually play the role they're expected to play in fire prevention. Thank you for watching and stay safe always.